Hello, and welcome to this best practices for making your website effective for recruitment, put on by the Illinois Community College Board, the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University, and the Southern Illinois Professional Development Center. The first best practice for making your website better for recruitment is to use consistent branding. You should always use consistent branding throughout your whole website, as well as any social media or marketing campaigns. And that consistent branding looks like including the same fonts, logos, color schemes, and imagery on all of your marketing that you're pushing out. The biggest marketing that we push out for any kind of recruitment to our students and our biggest marketing platform is our website. And so we need to make sure that we're consistent with all of our other marketing mediums that we're pushing out with our website. And so sure your website logo is on, or making sure your logo for recruiting your students is on every page of your website, is on every document that's on your website, it's on your social media, and it's consistent with the colors and images throughout your website. I've put some resources here that can help you with designing. Compositional visual designer is what you need to be when you're looking at morphing fonts, logos, color schemes, and imagery. And I like to call myself a compositional visual designer. And it's just really the capability to put color, shapes, and typography together to make it look aesthetically pleasing. And so we want to make sure our website is incorporating this best practice. The second best practice is to leave plenty of white space. This is another design element for your website. And if you don't have the option to edit design features on your website, this is something you can work with your developer on. But this can be a varying color. It doesn't have to be white. It could be white, gray, black, or a shade of one of those. But leaving white space leaves your website looking sophisticated and prestigious, which we want our websites to look like when we're focused on recruitment. But it also has a lot of user-based benefits as well. And numbers show that students who aren't able to have a good experience and a friendly user-based experience on our websites are not taking that next step in the recruitment process. And so leaving plenty of white space benefits the user by improving readability and scannability of your website. In a study at Wichita State University, it improved reading comprehension on websites by 20% when you had a good balance between white space, content, and color. And whitespace design renders your content easy on the user's eyes by eradicating extraneous details and breaking up information into those digestible chunks for consumption. So it reduces the amount of cognitive load that we're putting on our potential students. And in terms of recruitment, there can be a lot of information that we need to house on our website, but balancing that information out with white space as well as with imagery can help really reduce that amount of cognitive load that we're putting on our students and able to allows them the ability to comprehend that information that we want them to more readily. Whitespace can also prioritize which content to show first and how much emphasis to place on it. So if you're trying to put emphasis on some of your recruitment practices. Also, with leaving plenty of white space, the second best practice, you can use tools like creating a wireframe, which this is a free tool in this slide deck. It will allow you the option to move pieces, images, text around and play with that white space before you potentially work with your developer or edit that design yourself. And the white space can create visual hierarchy. So really putting emphasis on those that text or those recruitment call to actions that we want to create that visual hierarchy on. And so it's important to have a balance between white space and content for best practices number 2. The third best practice is to limit our choices, and that goes along with the fourth and fifth best practice. They're very correlating, But the third best practice to limit choices is just to limit those menu items, because too many items will disperse our students' attention and make your website look overcrowded and potentially make your recruitment efforts look desperate. So we want to use obvious and simple terms. The key is to not go too deep with those terms, keep them pretty broad, and then you can always go deeper with subpages if needed. But it's important to keep in mind that the best practice to limit choices also goes within your subpages. So no amount of content or information on your webpage should be more than 3 clicks away from your actual menu heading. And that includes any mouse overs or hover overs that you would have to do. So no more than 3 clicks away should a potential student be able to access that critical information for recruitment. And then your navigation or menu bar should really not have more than 5 to 7 items. If you need to, you can have a drop down menu bar that has more. So you can see on this example of Amazon, we have departments, Amazon.com, today's deals, gift cards and registry, sell, and help. Those are their main menu items. But then when you have the drop down to departments, it shows you a bunch of different other sub menu items as well. So your top menu bar should start off with those broad elements that your website houses and only hold about 5 to 7 items maximum. Doing this allows everything to be more visually prominent, seen, and considered for that action item to lead to recruitment of the students. So number 3 best practice also goes with the 4th best practice, which is to limit headings and pathways. To limit menu headings and pathways to as minimal as possible for that organized content. And so you can actually do this by building out a sitemap. And the ability to do this is seen, some examples of this is seen in these images here. You can use free sitemap websites on Google. You can do a variation of this on a Word document or a PowerPoint document or even Excel. But creating this sitemap allows for you to really think about those pathways before you build them out on your website, and to make sure that that best practice of limiting choices is implemented, as well as limiting headings and pathways. The 5th best practice is corresponds with the 3rd and the 4th, to have simple and easy navigation. So that goes along with not having information more than 3 clicks away. So your goal is to provide simple and easy to use navigation, including a search window that is accurate with keywords. It's very important. The search window is the most readily available navigation tool. So if a potential student is going to your website and wants to look for a potential program, a specific program, typically they would use the search engine to navigate that program. And if your search engine isn't working correctly, it might not pull up that information readily. And then your student might be deteriorated from enrolling in your program potentially. But if you have that search engine element on your website working correctly, then it will pull up that information readily available. And potential students can get very frustrated, and users can get frustrated when search engines on websites don't work. And so they'll refer to a different website or potentially visit a different program. So this can deter them from potential recruitment. And you can do this by making the hypertext in your search keywords obvious, streamline your navigation bars. You can use key terms and search words in your descriptions on each web page or in your recruitment information that you're providing the students. Keep sidebars separate from your main menu. Put your navigation in a standard place. So typically on most websites, you see some sort of menu in the upper left-hand corner, the top bar, or the footer. Don't forget to put it in the footer or put it in multiple places along your website, and then connect that navigation with your priorities of the recruitment. So your main priority is to recruit new students to your program. So connect that navigation and the order of that navigation with your priorities. The 6th best practice is to develop the rule of thirds. This is a design element in terms of the most important information that you want your students, potential students, to consume. So to apply the rule of thirds so that the eye naturally drifts when you're looking at your web page. So you can see up in the top left-hand corner, your potential student is going to consume that information first. 41% of users are consuming that information first in the top left-hand corner, and then moving down to the bottom left-hand corner and across to the right and down to the right bottom corner that is how typically users are scanning your website, moving from left top, left bottom, right top, right bottom. You would think we would move across based on reading. And really, if you look at this example, you can see how you don't do that because you're looking for that most important information. And when you develop this rule of thirds, it allows you to provide emphasis on that information when you start with that left-hand side to the right-hand side. The seventh best practice is to compress all your images and files as much as possible to not overcrowd your server, even if you are not familiar with how big of a server you have or you work hand in hand with developers. It's just a best practice to compress any images and files before you send them via email even. So you want to do this on your website server as well, because one of the biggest deterrents from for a user when accessing a file on a website or an image or a video is if it lags or is slow. And some of that does have to do with the connection, internet connection on their end, but a lot of it has to do with how fast your server can put out that information. And so the smaller the file size, the better. I would recommend a best practice of having any files, PDFs, documents on your website below 1 MB. And you can use these these resources that I've provided to shrink those. You can also compress PDFs in Adobe Acrobat, and it's a pretty simple process as well. The eighth best practice is to develop color and contrast in your design of your website. And you can use color and contrast to your advantage, much like that white space element, to appeal to call to action items and potential recruitment of those students. To get the most contrast, you can pick a complementary color that is opposite to your background color on the color wheel. And you can see that over in the image to the right of the screen. And you can also pick a triadic color, which I prefer this in my design elements. And that is one that is a third of the way around from your dominant color on the color wheel. And so you can see this in this Spotify example. They use a variations of orange, reds, and yellows. And then they have that complementary color of green with their call to action item, which is to get the Spotify app now. The ninth best practice is to animate. So if you can incorporate animation into your website, it just makes it more engaging and interactive, and also is yet another element to highlight any call to action items or important information that you might want to highlight. This is to be used cautiously because you don't want to be animating like body text or things like that, but animating images if they're linked, or animating sub menu bars or menu bars, or different elements of your website to create emphasis can be used as a best practice if done so correctly. An example of this would be hovering over a menu item and then having it animated down to that sub menu item with that drop down menu. The 10th best practice is to have some sort of analytics. You might have this through your development system and your developer that you use for your web page, but you can also implement Google Analytics yourself. Google has free Google Analytics training through Google, and you can watch videos, take courses, and get certified Google Analytics certified. And it's all for free, and there's an image here showcasing that. And then this is an example of what the numbers and analytics that your Google Analytics could produce for you. So you can actually see how many people are viewing your page, how many of those are unique, so not the same person over and over, so you're reaching a new person, how much time they're spending on your page, how many entrances you're getting, so how many new people are entering your page, how many people are entering your page and immediately leaving, and how many seconds they're leaving after. So that's that bounce rate. And then how many people exit your page. There's also more analytics, and it can go pretty in depth. And you'll learn about all of those when you get Google Analytics certified. You don't have to use Google Analytics if you have another form of analytics, but it does help you to correlate those numbers in the page views and seeing how many people are downloading your resources and looking at the information that you're providing, watching your videos on your website, looking at your images. It helps you to correlate those numbers to actual recruiting of potential students. The 11th best practice is to investigate into search engine optimization. Search engine optimization can be used for free. It can also be paid. If you're not familiar with search engine optimization, it stands for its acronym is SEO, and it stands for search engine optimization. It's the practice of increasing both the quality and the quantity of that website traffic. So the more potential students we can drive to our website, the more traffic we can get to our website, the more students we could potentially recruit for our programs. As well as exposure to your brand. And you can do this through non-paid or paid search engine results. Non-paid search engine results are also known as organic. SEO can help you get free targeted traffic from your search engines. And if you have SEO on your website, you're 20 times more likely, or you have 20 times more traffic opportunity than you do if you don't through a search engine. And then search engines are basically answer machines, if you aren't aware of that, and they take billions and millions and thousands of factors and information into effect. And then when you use the search engine, it pulls all that up based on that SEO. And they do this by discovering and cataloging all the available content on the internet. And so it's a process known as crawling and indexing. So we actually call it Google's spiders or Bing's spiders or Yahoo spiders, whatever search engine you're using. And then they rank it based on how best that information matches the question that you're investigating. And so if you have SEO in your website, and this is more on the back end, the developer side, then you're able to drive more potential students to recruit. The 12th best practice is to connect. So to connect that website to your social media, connect that website to any paper marketing that you're putting out or any other mediums that you're pushing out, and connecting all of your marketing together. When you do that, when you connect your social media to your website, to your newsletter, to your mass email marketing, to your text message marketing, whatever, you connect all of your online presence and create a digital marketing strategy, and a good one at that. Social media indirectly influences the factors that impact search rankings. So social media actually affects search engine optimization, which is best practice number 11 that we just talked about. And you can see over here on this wheel how it directly impacts it. So you're going to publish and create inspiring content through your social media. That social media content is shared and linked to your website. And then that social media profile collects followers, hopefully, as you're building your social media presence. But that's a whole different ball game of a marketing strategy. But while you're gaining that traffic on your social media, it has your community grow around your program and your brand. And then you have consistent interactions through your social media, which forces that search engine optimization to push your social media page forward when someone's searching for any relative terms that might be within your program or on your website. And then that's pushing your social media page at the top of search engine optimization. But it's kind of like a middleman because your website is integrated within your social media, right? Because everything's connected. The 13th best practice is to reach out. Reach out. Use those other marketing channels to drive traffic to your website. Obviously, you can use that SEO, but that's not all you need to do. You could consider including an ambassador program, which is similar to influencers, if you're familiar with social media influencers. I have worked with this in the past, creating an ambassador program with students who are really involved in your program, success stories of students, and having those students share out your social media and share out your website to other potential students. So kind of using your past students as influencers, or as I would like to call them, ambassadors for your potential program. And also developing some sort of email marketing, text message marketing, and also focusing on including your website in any kind of mailers that you're putting out for your program. So again, it's important to have that all-encompassing marketing strategy, with your website being the forefront of that, and then all of these other elements supporting driving traffic to your website, because your website is going to be the I mean, your mailers might include a lot of information, but we've seen throughout marketing that mailers are deteriorating and they're also very costly. So your website is going to be the main house of all of your recruitment materials, information, documents, etc. The 14th best practice is to make sure your website is comprehensive on mobile and devices and has a responsive design to adjust to browsers, screen sizes, and devices. So you want to make sure that it's compatible for all three of these, and this would be mostly on your developer's side. The 15th best practice is to consider adding video. So 68% of consumers would prefer watching an explained video on, in this instance, what your program is about. So 68% of your potential students are looking for some sort of video on your website. And you can actually improve your engagement on your website by 86% if you have at least one video on it. And if you have a video on your first page, you're 53 times more likely to come up in that search engine that potential students are using to research your program or programs like the one you have. But you want to be the one that they find, right? And then videos keep people on your website longer because people work with other people. People want to interact with other people, and video helps people get to know you and trust you and like you as a program and not just reading. Um, we can get to know people and we can make people feel a certain type of way about our programs if we can utilize video, because we're utilizing audio, we're utilizing video, imagery, design, all of the aspects of marketing when we have it encompassed in a video, not just text on a web page. The 16th and the last best practice is readability. So to check your readability, including your font selection, select 2 to 3 for your whole site. I apologize that this is blocking some of the words, but accessibility, grammar, misspellings, incorrect content, focusing on all of those in terms of your readability. And then overall, how does this connect to your recruitment? So our potential students for our programs are our customers. So 79% of our customers, our potential students who report dissatisfaction with website performance, are less likely to enroll in our programs. 64% of those potential students who are using and accessing our website on smartphones, those potential students are expecting our pages to load in less than 4 seconds. Customer experience. So 47% of those potential students expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less when they're on a tablet or a desktop. If your program is recruiting X amount per day, 1 second in improving your page speed on your website and improving your website using these best practices can bring X amount more daily to your program. And those numbers obviously aren't accurate in this little revenue square down here because it's transferring it to dollars, but I'm correlating it to your potential students. And then having search engine optimization can help in that second delay for your page load. So if you even have a second delay in a page load on your website or in that search engine, bringing it up on that page, once it's clicked off of from the search engine, you can have 11% loss of page views overall when consumers are consuming your website. And then 1 second delay in your website can mean a potential 7% reduction rate in conversions from actually getting potential students to your website, converting them to actually enrolling in your program. So this is how these best practices connect to the overall recruitment efforts that you're putting in. And so that is the 16 best practices for making your website better for recruitment. And so thank you so much on behalf of the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University, the Illinois Community College Board, and the Southern Illinois Professional Development Team. And if you would like to, you can access more information about recruitment efforts on our website at icsps.illinoisstate.edu. Thank you.